Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Zornitsa, and I'll be the moderator of this online session on behalf of the MBA School Selection Program platform Unimai. The topic of today's session is the MBA program at the Maastricht School of Management, or MSM, the different formats in which it is available and their respective return on investment. MSM is one of the oldest business schools in the Netherlands and is highly acknowledged for its international orientation and collaborative culture. If you'd like to read more about the school, I've just pasted in the chat the official webpage of the MSM MBA, as well as the school's profile on Unimai, where you can also do quick tests and see how well the school's culture fits your own values and how its MBA offering matches your criteria. Let us now welcome our panelists. On behalf of MSM, we have Hermina Koeman, Manager Enrollment and Career Services, and Julia Zucchelli, Recruitment Officer. Here are also two of MSM's MBA students, 3 graduates and 1 current student, Evelyn van der Laak, Aisha Meda, Rinya Yadav, and Mohamed Galal. We'll start with an overview of the MSM MBA and its advantages. Then Evelyn, Aisha, Harinya, and Mohamed will share with us more about their academic experience and how it contributed to their career development. Your questions are very welcome, so if you have any, please type them down in the Q&A section or the chat box anytime during the webinar, and we'll take the time to address them at the end of the session. Now, I would like to give the word to Hermina to introduce herself and the MSM MBA.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Zori. Let me share my screen and then we can get started. I don't have any sounds, but let me just share just in case. There we go. So I assume everyone can see my screen.
Yes, we do.
Perfect. So today, what we're going to be talking about, I will just go over a little bit of general information about MSM, the Maastricht School of Management, and the introductions of all of us here today. Before we go and look at the actual market needs, because to be able to know what return on investments there are, you also need to actually know what the market is interested in. And then we'll look at the MBA programs, also the setup and the similarities and differences between the 3 different programs. And then we'll be talking about the returns that you could expect in the near or far future. And then some practical information about the application process if you're interested before going through to any questions and answers. Now, just one little side note I did want to mention is this webinar is specifically geared towards people interested in an MBA. If you are interested in doing a Master in Management, we will be doing another webinar on that topic, specifically for the Master in Management students in the coming weeks. I think it's scheduled for something like the 15th of March with the Unimai platform. So please don't hesitate to join then either. Otherwise, if you do have any specific questions for the Master in Management already now, you can always contact Julia. She's here in the chat today. So don't hesitate to ask her about that while I'm talking. But the focus of this webinar will be about the MBA. Now, my name is Hermina, and I'm in charge of the Enrollment and Career Services at Maastricht School of Management, which means we basically take care of everything non-academic at Maastricht School of Management. And so today with me, we have Julia, who is the recruiter for the MBA and the Master in Management, and she's also in the chat. So throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to post them either privately or in public to Julia. And Julia will then answer them, but also at the end during the Q&A session, she will reread some of the main questions that would be useful for everyone to know, and then I will answer them again as well. So don't hesitate also at that moment if you've got any additional questions to ask them. So more importantly, today we're very fortunate to have a few guests here. We've got 4 students slash alumni. And the first one I'd like to introduce, or in any case, take the word for this, this session is Evelyn. Evelyn, if you can take a few minutes to introduce yourself and mention where you are from, what your background is, and why you decided to do an MBA at MSM.
Okay, thank you, Hermina. So yeah, as you mentioned, my name is Evelyn. I am an alumnus. I graduated last year from the Executive MBA program. I am Dutch, that is my nationality. I haven't lived in the Netherlands in quite a long time. I lived in several different countries as the child of an expat. And I currently do reside in Belgium. Not too far from Maastricht. I started my EMBA journey after working for an international health insurance company for 10 years. Currently, however, I'm working for the Flemish government in Belgium for their public employment service. I am a manager of the back offices there, and I have been working there for 3 years now.
Thank you very much, Evelyn. Next up, Arinya, same thing. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your journey to MSM and past that?
Yes, hello. I'm Harinya and I'm from India, and I decided to come to MSM firstly because I fell in love with Netherlands when I came for a vacation, and more importantly, I think for expats who are coming from outside Europe, it's also important to see the economic perspective, and MSM provides a lot of scholarships and also grants for people who come from countries outside Europe. I think that was also a very important factor for me to choose MSM, and also the curriculum was what really interested me. And also the specializations, that you could choose to specialize in what you wanted, and there are multiple options to choose from. Coming to my background, I'm a biomedical engineer, and the reason to do MBA, although I could have done masters in biomedical engineering, my reason was to get into the business and administration front of medical device sector. I think more or less that's how I introduce. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next up, Aisha, actually a current student of the online MBA that she started just in November last year. So Aisha, if you can tell us a little about yourself.
Yes, hello everyone. Well, my name is Aisha. I'm a French citizen, but I lived abroad for a long time. I'm actually currently resident in Qatar, but I also reside in the Sultanate of Oman in the Gulf Arab states. And I've been working in the banking industry for the past 19 years. And the last 9 years, I held executive role where I established a private bank in Qatar. Basically, I have recruited people, obviously, private bankers, and built from scratch a portfolio of high net worth individuals in the state of Qatar. So my specialty is wealth management and private banking. And I've just recently decided to pause and not to take on any corporate role at this stage, because I wanted to look for a next chapter for my career. I'd like to actually move from banking and develop a career in ESG, or let's say circular economy or sustainable development. And so I thought it was a great idea for me to prepare this move to take on an MBA. And to be very honest, I haven't applied to any MBAs except MSM, because it just fits to what I was looking for. I knew exactly what I wanted. What I wanted is flexibility, to be able to continue working on personal projects, because I do private consultancy for a private family office in the region. And so for me, it was important that I continue my professional expertise on a flexible manner and study as well. As well, it was important for me to find an MBA that proposes specialty in sustainable development. And that's for this reason I haven't really applied to any other. It was perfect.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
you wanted to say something else?
No, that's it, I think, unless you have questions for
No,
later.
We'll get to the questions just now. Don't worry about that. Last up, Mohamed.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Mohamed. I'm exactly Executive Assistant Manager here in Netherlands in Amsterdam for a contractor. I have a background in engineering and civil engineering. I'm graduated from Egypt. I'm originally from Egypt, and I worked over 12 years before coming to Netherlands. And I decided to join MSM for different reasons. The main reasons for me is just like to have a more financial experience and more technical experience in terms of soft skills, which we will discuss through the webinar. And I found honestly MSM fulfilled my desires already in execution already and in operation management, and it exactly like pushed me more in my career. And yes, I am originally from Egypt, and why I decided to come to Netherlands or come to MSM in particular, I had a trade-off, and I decided to. I was choosing one of three main regions. I was comparing France, and I was comparing Netherlands, and I was comparing to Belgium. And I decided Netherlands, honestly, due to financial reason, because Netherlands is one of the highest wages in Europe, and this is for me was one of the main point to select Netherlands, and yes, it pays off well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting, 4 different profiles. I didn't even realize this, but it just happened that we have 4 different backgrounds, 4 different nationalities. So that's really exciting, because I'm looking forward to hearing all your experiences. Just to give some facts about MSM, briefly, we are one of the oldest business schools in the Netherlands. This year we are 70 years old. So we've been doing this for a while. And we are a very small business school that focuses only on management and business education. So we don't have 1,000 other courses that we do. We specialize just in this. And so we have an MBA in various formats that we'll be talking about today, and then the Master in Management, which is aimed at a younger target group. So students that have an experience of 0 to 3 years would be more fitted for the Master in Management. Our programs are all accredited internationally, so that is very important when you are looking for an MBA. Make sure to make sure that it has at least the AMBA accreditation. That's one of the main accreditations that's important from a degree recognition purpose. And then the NVO is the local Dutch one, which is also very useful to have. The MBA is also ranked very well. We were quite happy with how well our programs are progressing. We were very proud to reach the #1 full-time MBA this year, according to the Ed Universal website, and the Executive MBA also this year has just been ranked #1 in the Netherlands. But I do generally like to say, and this is something that's just more of a personal approach, is I would recommend focusing on the accreditation rather than rankings, because ranking is a marketing tool. And so as business schools, we obviously like to use those, to brag. But the important thing when you are looking for your degree, you want to look at accreditation and make sure that it has the AMBA accreditation, so that your degree has that recognition worldwide. A little bit about the program profile, because we will be discussing that in more detail just now. But the full-time MBA has a class of about 30 to 35 students. It depends on the year, and an average of between 17 to 20 different nationalities. The executive MBA is about 30 to 40 students, and also it's quite international, between 20 to 25 different nationalities. And you have a combination of expats living in the Netherlands, Dutch people, Belgian people, German people, And then also people flying in from the various countries, also from North Africa, from the Middle East. We even have someone flying in from Mexico, so that is possible. And then we have the online MBA, there we have smaller cohorts because we believe that it's important in the online MBA to really have a one-on-one sort of support system, because it is more difficult to stay focused and to have that support. So the classes are smaller. You've got about 12 to 15 students and about also 10 nationalities per cohort, depending on the cohort. But in total, it's a very nice international group as well from the online MBA. A little bit about Maastricht itself, and we were actually just talking about that before we started the webinar, but Maastricht is an amazingly special place. It is right in the bottom of the Netherlands, so squished in between Belgium and Germany. In fact, I live in Belgium. It takes me 10 minutes to get to work every day, so I cross the border, and Germany is about 20 minutes away, so very, very close to our neighboring countries. Interesting fact, and in fact, Aisha actually brought that up again today, but for those of you that still remember your history textbooks from when you were studying European Union history, but the European Union was created in Maastricht. And the reason for this is that if you do zoom out of the map, you'll actually see that Maastricht is quite central in Western Europe. And so as a symbolic nature for its central location, it was chosen to create the European Union in Maastricht. So that's our claim to fame. But besides that, it is an absolutely stunning little village to live in. Well, village, it's a city. And I often say that it's small enough to feel at home, but big enough not to get bored. Now, before I talk more about that, I do just want to ask the two full-time MBA students who have lived there and are now living abroad, well, in other places in the Netherlands, maybe what they really liked about Maastricht and what they miss now. So maybe Harenya, if you can tell me, how was your experience in Maastricht?
Maastricht, although I did visit Netherlands before, when I came for my MBA, I went straight to Maastricht, and it's beautiful. It's like no other city compared to Netherlands, I would say. Like you said, Hermina, it's small enough to feel like you're at home, and it's big enough to not get bored. The city has everything, and the river is beautiful. And I think people are also really different compared to the rest of the Netherlands. And you have a mixed population of students and also older generation people, so it's a good balance in the city, I would say.
Yeah, very true. And I think, Mohamed, you were referring to that as well, that you actually really missed the people in Maastricht, right?
Yes. Yeah, I missed honestly the people in Maastricht since I'm now like almost about 1 year to complete my first job in Amsterdam, and the life dynamics and the city and the speed of the work, and how exactly the time schedule already is very congested already in Amsterdam. And I could and I'm working also in the traffic systems and the signals and all of the software related. So I could see that Maastricht is somehow, it's a nice place to just have this, I call it off year of your career, just like to just focus on your study, and it will just like help you by any means. So you will find the place is not totally boring. The weather and the weather in all Netherlands are totally, for sure, as you know, that it's fully raining, and but I'm facing the weather troubles in the north of Netherlands, because we have always raining, and Maastricht is somehow is having a less rains compared to the north of Netherlands. And for this also you could see I could speak also about some financial issues, about something like the rentals and the houses and the places where you can buy stuff in Maastricht is compared to other cities. It's for sure it's a bit cheaper, and for this it's a good and I could see that this is a very good choice for students to just have this full-time MBA and resting and not thinking about anything except their studies.
Yeah. Exactly. What is also worthwhile mentioning for those of you considering doing an executive MBA is that flying into Maastricht is quite easy. Obviously, it has an airport there. So if you are flying from a country that has a direct connection with Maastricht, I know Moscow has one, or St. Petersburg, one of the two. But there's several big cities where you can fly directly into Maastricht. Otherwise, Brussels is an hour away from Maastricht by car. By train, it's I think an hour and a half. Amsterdam is about 2.5 hours away. And Düsseldorf in Germany is also quite a big international airport that's easy to travel to. So I know that executive MBA students traveling to the Netherlands, Maastricht is an easy city to get to. So that's also important to know when you are considering the place that you are going to choose. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the market. That obviously, when you're doing an MBA, it's a lot of money, and you want to make sure that you're going to get something out of it that's going to make it worthwhile investing so much money into your MBA. And so we did some research on that to be able to be sure that our MBA could be as relevant and as applicable as possible to the market needs. And so we did a survey regarding this. We contacted 250 different people here in the Netherlands from some of the big companies here, about 151 different companies, to find out really what are their needs, what are they, what skills are they struggling with, and so that was quite interesting for us to see. And one of the things we noticed was that the soft skills was actually really highly listed in this list. So the companies generally found that the soft skills are very difficult to hire, that they actually find them more useful to hire people with good soft skills that they can transfer into the job than the hard skills, which you can actually just send you on a training for. And so they really said that struggling to find the right talent, the right fit with the right soft skills was the biggest challenge. And so we looked at that. And then we asked also what are the things that they most expect graduates to have, the MBA graduates. And so these are some of the skills that came out in the survey, so that they expected MBA graduates to have this understanding of business as a whole. But they also then expected them to have good communication skills, good listening skills, good, being a self-starter type of person. And then you get the slightly more typical MBA knowledge skills, like having strategy knowledge, having finance knowledge, and having leadership knowledge. Now, if I look at this, and I look at Evelyn, for example, you've just finished your executive MBA. Does this list make sense to you? Is this something where, when you also in your situation, have you noticed that this MBA has given you any of these skills?
Yeah, definitely. I think the number one that's ranked on this slide is also the number one for me, because I've always worked in operations. I still work in operations, so I'm lacking a little bit, let's say, the insight from the other sides of the business, which through doing the MBA, that's definitely helped me to see, okay, what are some of the other things that are really important. And so things like leadership skill here is listed fairly low. I've been in a leadership position for a number of years, so I felt when we got to that module, okay, I already know a bunch of this stuff. Whereas when we got to the financial module, I was like, oh, very nervous about it. But actually that ended up being one of my best grades, because I really had to, dig in and really apply myself to it. So definitely I can recognize a couple of these that I think, yes, this is, helped me.
Nice. And we actually then went further, because we asked companies what they really needed. Now, Aisha, I know it's a bit early for you to talk about your own personal experience so far, because you only had 2 courses. But I know you mentioned yourself you were quite high in the recruitment process in your previous job. are these the type of skills you also noticed in your country, in your position? Were these the type of skills that you struggled to find, or that you definitely needed for a management type of position?
Yes, I can recognize very important skills here, and one of them is definitely the ability to solve complex problems. So it is very important to have someone who is open and is able to actually think out of the box. So the two first are very important. To find solutions. I mean, in my field of wealth management and private banking, it's a frontline functions. It's about listening, communicating well, and thinking outside the box to find solutions to the clients. And so, yes, they are definitely important.
Yeah,
these top two are important.
And now I'm going to throw the ball to Harinya and ask Harinya, in your experience, because it's been now nearly 2 years that you've graduated, right?
1.5, yes.
1.5, yeah. We're getting close. Time flies, huh? If you think back at your MBA experience, did you feel that you have grown in your creative thinking and in your ability to solve complex problems, and how?
Yeah, ability to solve complex problems, yes, in the sense of managing teams, in the sense of I have different clients that I deal with as a project manager here where I work. And sometimes it's just difficult to communicate certain things. And especially when you're into sales, and in the healthcare sector, you cannot really try to sell with people who have big egos like doctors and who are in really high positions. You need to try and give them a solution instead of trying to sell, and these are the kind of complex problems. I think also with my background and the MBA, I think it's refined quite more than it used to be. And thinking, I would definitely give more than 90 points there, because you need to think really creatively, because the company that I'm working in right now is international people. We have more than 28 nationalities here. Everybody thinks differently. So to fit in and to understand and perceive the right way, I think MSM gave me a very good platform that way, because I did not have a culture shock when I came here, because I experienced quite a bit of that when I was in MSM already.
Yeah, great. It's true that the sensitivity to cultural differences, creative thinking, and ability to solve complex problems are not even things that companies need now, but it's also, if you look at, we also asked them what's the most difficult to find. And there was also a strong link there, the creative thinking and the ability to solve complex problems combined with this ability to train, coach others. And I think, Harinya, you alluded to that, being able to explain things to others and make sure that it's clear to everyone. That's actually something that companies really struggle to find. Now, I know, Mohamed, you got quite an exciting opportunity here in Amsterdam. I don't know if this was any of the skills that you had that you were able to use when the company decided to hire you.
Yes, I agree with Harinya about what she mentioned exactly. For me, to be honest, it's creative thinking is the most critical skill for me. Either is a management skill, which is most difficult to find, or the most skill which I learned through my MBA. Creative thinking in Netherlands, the people and most of the companies and the directors, they are appreciating the creative thinking in a different way, because in my day-to-day tasks already, which I have, they always ask for a different trade-off of decisions and different trade-off of solutions. And without creative thinking and without having even we call it like you will never have a final solution without a creative thinking. And for me, this is the most critical skills which I usually use, and I learned through my MBA. And even I remember all my professor and all my thesis professors already, they always stick to how to adjust your argument inside your document, and how to put this way, and not to be just very straightforward. And by encouraging this in my day-to-day assignment, or my MBA assignment, or my thesis, this honestly developed the full type of how creative thinking the person is supposed to be, and how this is very needed is in the job market in Netherlands and in Europe in general, and in the world, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's also, and for those of you that are interested, we are doing a masterclass later on this week on the skills of the future, so digital transformation, and what will be important in the future. And quite a lot of these skills, the creative thinking, the ability to solve complex problems, the sensitivity to cultural differences, those type of skills are remaining on the list as expected to be very important for the future as well. Now, I just want to talk a little bit more about the actual program. So just to give an overview of the different MBAs, because I've mentioned we have a full-time MBA, and we've got two versions of a part-time MBA. So the full-time MBA is a one-year MBA, and you come on campus, you come to Maastricht, you have a wonderful, amazing year in the most amazing city, and you do an MBA at MSM. For the part-time MBA, it's a minimum of 2 years. Normally it goes, if you do all your modules plus your thesis, it's more of a 2.5-year thing, but there is ways to do it faster. But in general, I recommend to count at least 2 years. And for that, you've got either the online MBA or the executive MBA. And for the online MBA, it can be done 100% online, or you can do a blended option where you come to Maastricht, for example, for the expertise track, or the specializations that we used to call them. If you say, I really struggle with finance and actually want to have finance in class rather than just online, well, that's an option. We can arrange that. The reason why we can do that is because the MBA, the full-time, the part-time ones follow the same curriculum. So the same knowledge content is taught. It's just how we teach it that is different. And then each program has its advantages that we'll discuss in more detail now. If you prefer the executive MBA, that happens on campus, and it happens every 3 months. And during Corona, during the COVID times, we have had the option to do it hybrid. So people were able to connect via Zoom for some of those classes. But we are hoping to obviously have that on-campus experience as much as possible. And I know that classes have started as pre-COVID days, so that it looks like it's going the right way again. So that is in a nutshell how the MBA format looks. What one of the advantages is because you have this flexibility, you can actually switch between courses. So it's been in the past sometimes that a full-time MBA student has to miss a course because of a personal issue or because of illness, and then that person can actually come and do the MBA, follow the executive MBA classes when they have their class, or the online MBA. And vice versa. So the online MBA, as I've mentioned, if someone wants to join the full-time or the executive program for a specific class, that's something we can arrange. Also for the full-time MBA, what is nice to know is that if you do get a job while you are studying in Maastricht, you can always then carry on with your MBA via the online or the executive MBA and still benefit from the job offer and not have to turn it down. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about the curriculum, because as I've mentioned, the curriculum itself is the same for all 3 formats. And if I look at that now, and obviously you'll see in the curriculum, there are 3 main pillars which are important. Also, you can see that in our expertise track. It's a sustainable development theme, entrepreneurship and innovation, and then the industrial 4.0 technological revolution type of thing. So the courses are focused a lot, geared towards those 3 pillars of what we believe is important at MSM. But if I had to ask each of the panelists today, which was their most favorite course and what's also helped them most in their career. Maybe Evelyn, you can start by telling us which course you really enjoyed and what really helped you in your job.
Yeah, I think for me, surprisingly, it was the one where we were taught entrepreneurship and digital transformation. And I say surprisingly because I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I always thought I will be, you know, as an employee for the rest of my life, and didn't really make the click that one, even as an employee, you can still be an entrepreneur within your organization. But two, also through the assignment, I got to meet and speak with entrepreneurs and kind of got a flavor of what it's like to be an entrepreneur. So that for me it kind of opened up that world to me.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Aisha, you've just started, right? You've already
Yes.
had 2 courses?
Well, actually in total 3, but the first one was really an introduction of business communication. So it was just 2 weeks. Yeah, that's right.
And which ones have you had so far?
So business communication, marketing in a global context, and we just finished the global corporate strategy.
Okay. And have that in any way have any of the things you've learned been useful so far?
Absolutely. I really loved global marketing in global context because simply the teaching method was very effective for me in a way that I find that, and that's across these 3 modules, I find that this is like a turnkey self-study solution. You just switch on your Moodle, you log in, and everything is actually already designed for you to study on a step-by-step basis without missing out anything. And so the learning process of doing the discussions is really, how to say, rich, because there's a real exchange that is in writing, and it actually enhances your learning by writing it and reading what the others are thinking. And it also make you look at a subject in a very different angles. I love marketing, and I really enjoy corporate strategy as well. Because every time I just feel that, you know, I may just jump into entrepreneurship anytime now. It's just very exciting to going through so many, you know, case studies that are so actual, and it's inspiring as well. Very inspiring.
Great. We'll talk a little bit about the format just now, because I'm sure there are some people that will be interested to hear about that later on, but it's good that you've already mentioned that slightly. Harinya, in your case, what's been the most useful and the most interesting for you?
I think it would be unfair for me to just say one course, honestly. But like Aisha said, I really have to agree. Marketing and strategy have been very changing in terms of how I look at it, the way it is being taught, how I look at strategy and how I look at marketing has completely changed for me from before coming to MSM and after. And I use a lot of tools that we learned on a daily basis here. Because I work for different clients where we have to do market research for them initially. So it helps me a lot because I know all of it. It's all in my head. I wake up, if you wake me up in the middle of the night, I know what I'm talking about. But other than those two, I really think leadership course was really important for me. Not because I didn't know how to be a good leader, but it made me understand what kind of a leader I am. So I think in that aspect, it was really interesting for me because right now in a position of being a project manager, I have teams that I need to communicate with. I know what communication is in favor for me and what works for me. So yeah, I think,
Perfect, thank you. And Mohamed?
Yep. For me, I go differently. I prefer the decision-making tool course. Is for me is one of the most important. The most reason why I choose this type of course because it is, for me, it's an introduction to the data analysis word. So to just be introduced to this type of how you analyze every single decision, and how you know that everything is not coming randomly, and you understand the concept of data, and you understand the concept of trade-off of anything, and you understand how big the pool is in any type of industry, and how you could analyze it. And this, for me, it was, to be honest, something new which I learned after the MBA and during the MBA, and I feel very interested. Second course where I like it also in MSM, it's the supply chain, and I could honestly recommend this special course. MSM has a very strong, powerful professors, for sure, in all sections, but I speak in Netherlands in particular. The supply chain management is something very unique in Netherlands, because you know that Rotterdam is one of the biggest ports, and the country already relies on the supply chain in a lot of their industry, and the supply chain techniques and the supply chain courses and the supply chain professors are one of the best in Netherlands. So to be honest, this course also is very important, and also I learned a lot inside, and I have I have this type of experience for the supply chain management during MSM. And the course detail itself, it show you how do you use the supply chain inside the industry, and how you do analysis for any type of trades, and how you go for the inbound and outbound operations, and it give you insight inside the operations. And I see that this is, yes, it's very unique in MSM, and something which is really benefit. I benefit from it a lot. Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear that. I know that the supply chain was one that I actually really enjoyed as well. The one that I'm highlighting here are also just to show you that these are the type of courses which, once again, are linked to who we are, but it's also the ones that are slightly different to what you'd find in a typical curriculum. So the digital transformation, the entrepreneurship, they're not the courses you're going to see in every single curriculum when you compare curriculums. And it's the type of things that are connected to the MSM values and pillars. And I've already mentioned the expertise track, or the specializations. I just want to quickly mention that again. So in your MBA, after you've done the core courses, you will focus on a specific topic, so your expertise track, so either entrepreneurship or the digital economy or accounting and finance, depending on what's interesting for you. And then you will delve deeper into that by doing 4 additional courses. Now, what's very special about that is that during that time, the online MBA, the executive MBA, and the full-time MBA, together with the global programs, all come together at Maastricht School of Management to do these courses. Now, Evelyn, I think you did yours recently. Which specialization did you choose, and how did that go for you?
Yeah, I ended up choosing the international business and sustainable development. For me, it was a difficult choice because I was interested in several of the options, but I ended up choosing this because I really do and did enjoy working in an international setting, and because I kind of miss it in my current job, but I don't want to rule out that I will continue or go back to an international setting. I decided to go for that expertise track, let's say.
And being in a class with people from the different programs, how many people were there in the international specialization?
That's a good question. I don't know offhand, but I do know that there's, I think from the group that was with me for the executive MBA, I think there were only about maybe 4 or 5 people that chose that, and so the rest of the group was indeed a lot of different people, different backgrounds, people who were already working in specific fields related to this. So that made that expertise track quite interesting, because it was just, yeah, again, a whole new network of people.
Yeah, very nice. Now, also one of the things that is important to notice about the MBA at MSM is that you do have the option to do a thesis, so your final paper, either an academic research paper or a consulting project, or if you have an entrepreneurial idea, you can use that opportunity to develop a business plan. So I don't know, Harinya, which one did you choose?
Business consultancy.
Okay, and how did that go?
I think it went really well. I did a business consultancy for a company that was an Indo-American company that was doing digital marketing and IT services, and they wanted to expand to the Netherlands. So it was the perfect opportunity for me to link those two. I think it was the perfect way for me to put the marketing and the strategy and also the research methods, everything that we've learned in the most exhausting way. I cannot lie about that. But yeah, I think it went really well at the end. The company was really happy. My defense, my panelists were really happy with my defense. So I think I did a good job. So I graduated. So.
That's amazing. And I know the nice thing with having the option of the consulting project and the business plan is that the academic research paper, it does remain very theoretical. And sometimes it's nice to have that opportunity to apply that theory to real situations. And that's why the business plan and the consulting project is more useful in that sense. So I'm really glad to hear that you had that opportunity and that it did, that you were able to apply all this knowledge. Then just talking a little bit more also, and several of you already mentioned that, but the MSM teaching approach, it is very Dutch in that way, in the sense that problem-based learning, case-based learning, so you're having real examples, real companies with real issues, discussing those, working on those topics, having the group discussions. But then for the full-time and the executive MBA students, it's slightly different than for the online MBA students, because the full-time students and the executive MBA students often have some company visits or some guest lectures. Well, the online MBA still will have some of that, but they'll also have a more of an interactive discussion board. And we will discuss that in more detail when we look at the different programs in one by one. But I just wanted to ask maybe, Mohamed, because I think you referred to that just now, all the cases that you had. If you can tell a little bit more about how the theory you were able to connect it to examples.
Yeah, so the theory which we learned through MSM, for me, when I first decided to join the MSM, I wasn't like convenient about why the theses are needed for an experienced professional, and do I have to do a thesis at that time of my age and to just go for the references and go for the details for this. And to be honest, I feel like I felt at that time, yes, it was somehow tough decision, but when I've been inside my thesis and when I choose to use the consultancy plan, and this, as you say just right now, Hermina, about this is like combination between the theoretical life and actual life, and how to combine the theory with the current life business already. And a lot of companies, honestly, in Netherlands, they are asking and encouraging the students already who are working inside, studying and doing their masters inside Netherlands to do the thesis with them. So this is like somehow you could apply and see by your eye already what you are doing in your research and how you are implementing this in real life by your company, and how it could benefit already your company, yourself, and for sure your university, because it is a trial agreement already, and even in documentation it's a trial agreement also between the three, so the student and the person and the company and the university.
Yeah. Now I think also earlier on, Evelyn, we talked about this, but I know for the executive MBA specifically, because many of the students are actually working while doing their MBA, the assignments are often very relevant to the job. So you can actually use the assignments to go deeper into something that you've been needing to look at during your company, during your career. I don't know, Evelyn, if you've got any examples of that?
Yeah, definitely several, because for me, it was very important that I make this very practical and not keep it as a very theoretical academic learning. So whenever I could, I would try to, whenever we had to do assignments for the different modules, to really apply them to what was going on at my work. So I remember specifically, for example, for the decision-making tools, that we had about 3 options of things that we could choose from to do as an assignment, analyzing your sports activity, which was quite low for me at that time, much better now. And I couldn't really find anything that I said, okay, this is what I want to do in terms of analysis of figures. So I spoke with a lecturer and mentioned, okay, this is what I'm currently struggling with one of my teams at work. This is the data I would be able to collect. Can I do something with that? And so there was actually a lot of flexibility around that he said, okay, this is really interesting. So I ended up doing an assignment that was really focused on one of my teams and something that I had been struggling that I wanted to look at. And therefore I was able to, really apply it to my specific role. Same with the thesis, as mentioned as well. I again took a problem that was, I did a business consultancy paper as well. So I really applied it to my current employer, and actually even the current state of the world, meaning that, we were in COVID times, I already had virtual teams. And so what I did with my thesis is to look at the factors that impact performance in virtual teams. So again, for me, that was really important, not keep it theoretical, really apply it and actually do something with it.
Yeah, no, very interesting. Aisha, in your case, now you've only had 2 assignments so far, and I think the second one you're still working on, but has this also been the case for you?
Well, it's a very interesting question. I've also strategically thought about what I'm going to do with the assignments because of my long experience in banking and wealth management. I have extensive relationship from client, from banking partners, etc., on the field of banking and especially wealth management. And I thought that it will be a great opportunity for me to actually develop network with this type of assignment. So the second assignment that I'm doing now, I've reached out to CEO of a small local bank that actually is just 10 years old, and they've just recently established really business. It's not so old, but I thought, why not use that to develop a network or develop new relationship rather than, existing ones, rather than working on existing ones. So it's more like opposite of what the other person just said now. And so I think it's a great opportunity to also look at other sectors that you're interested in. For me, it makes sense because I'm looking at changing career path. So looking at other sectors that are interesting for me, that I'd like to know better, and do research on them. So I am trying to map it so that it makes sense with my knowledge and where I want to be.
Very interesting, very interesting. So thank you for sharing all of that, because once again, it's interesting how with one example, one assignment, there's so much you can get out of it. And that is one of the return on investments that's really relevant to the actual learning at MSM. It's not just theory, you can actually apply it and use it. Now, we have talked about the diversity of the program. I'm not going to go too much into that because of the time as well. But the students do come from all over the world. And this is one of the things we truly believe is a real benefit of doing an MBA at MSM, because it's when you see that of the skills, that sensitivity to cultural awareness is so important. Working in groups can be so challenging that then this opportunity to be with so many different people from so many different nationalities is a really good way to open up your network, your experiences. And in some cases, we've even had people that started up some companies together after their program. So everything is possible. We've also touched on the professors, so I'm not going to talk too much about this, but it is just good to know that the professors at MSM have a wonderful combination of knowledge where they have worked in the field. They do, quite a lot of them are consultants in that field, but they also have that academic knowledge. So when you get the experience from the professors, you are really learning from their experiences. They teach around the world as well, so they see how things are in the different countries. And most importantly, is they're very approachable. So that's something in all three formats. I know the students always say that being able to connect with the teachers, just walking in and asking a question, is one of the things that they really appreciated when studying at MSM. So now I just want to take a few minutes to look at each MBA specifically. So the full-time MBA, a one-year program, is called the pressure cooker. In this pressure cooker, you have 2 weeks to cover one module, one course. So for example, marketing. In that first week, you're actually in class. And then the second week, you cram in all the assignments, but sometimes an exam, your group assignments, your individual assignments, and additionally, the career services, the mentorship experience, the social activities, the student competitions, and everything else we throw at you while you're at MSM. So Harinya and Mohamed, you both survived this crazily intense year. Do you want to maybe explain to the students, maybe Harinya, if you explain how a typical week or the course went, so the 2 weeks?
I think for a few courses, it was okay. We would have classes for 1 week, like you said, and the other week to do our assignment. But what I think, I don't know if it's specific to our batch, but we would always finish the group assignment the week we had classes. So we would have to do our personal assignment in the week. I was also the class representative. So we also had multiple activities that we had to take care of. And we also had the SDG competitions that we were all very excited to be a part of. So yes, of course, it was a pressure cooker. And coming to mentorship, I think I need to add a line in there because it was an absolute, an amazing networking opportunity for me. My mentor, actually the CEO of Corporate Medical, he actually offered me a traineeship program once I graduated after the mentorship. So I think it helped me connect with a lot of people in the healthcare sector. And also to work with him was an absolute pleasure for me.
Yeah, definitely. Now, if you look at the MBA and you are thinking about it, there are some things you need to know. You would need a student visa if you're a European citizen. We do take care of that for you, so we'll let you know what you need to do. And after that, you can actually use your orientation year permit, so you can stay after your studies for 1 year in the Netherlands to look for a job. So people that are looking for, thinking of doing a full-time MBA, it's often if you have that immersive international, you want to have that experience, you want to focus on your studies. And I think, Mohamed, you mentioned that earlier about having that sort of nearly like a holiday feeling.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
you know, but just taking a break from the stress of work, right?
Yeah.
And just focusing on that studies. And often it's also, if you do want to start a new career in the Netherlands, like both you and Harinya have done, you know, or in any case, switching careers, then often people consider doing the MBA. Now, we do have a personal career and personal development track. In that track, we work on all those skills developments, what students would need for their MBA. But this is also available for the online MBA and executive MBA in a slightly more, personalized format. But for the full-time students, we do a lot more also on the social development and the student competition side of things. Now, Aisha, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how your week, how your course has gone, because basically the module is broken up into 4 weeks, more or less, and then you work on your assignment, right?
Yes, that's right. So each module is done in 4 weeks. Every week you have a unit, and every week you have a discussion which you need to post a discussion, and you also need to reply and make 2 comments on your colleagues' discussion. So the way I organize it, and at the end of the module, which is on the 5th week, really, you need to submit an assignment. The way I organize it, really, I think there's one thing which is really beautiful about it, is that you organize it the way you want, as long as you can achieve what needs to be achieved. And I think this flexibility is very precious, especially during the COVID time. And especially if you're working on personal projects. And for me, it's important because I am working on several personal projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I do, really, I spend few hours in the morning doing the reading for each of the units. And I actually, mid of the week, I start to do my write-up. So basically, I managed to actually finish before the deadline for each of the week.
Nice.
Submission is on a Friday. I normally am finished on a Wednesday. So as soon as my colleagues actually send the other submissions, I can work on them to respond. And so this flexibility enables you to actually be on holiday if you need to take a holiday, or you need to travel, because you can still work while you are on remote.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm really impressed of, and I really mean it, is the turnkey solution. I mean, you plug into Moodle, and it tells you exactly what to do, where to find the information, and how to do it. It's really step by step. And this framework is efficient for you to actually do things on a very timely manner without wasting time. Yeah, the platform is good.
Great. I'm really great to hear that, because I know that does scare a lot of people. And for those of you that are considering an online MBA, we will be doing another webinar on that via the MSM website, where we do an actual sneak peek into the online MBA environment. So it is worthwhile looking in. Effectively, if you want to know more about that, don't hesitate to ask. But thank you for giving that clarification, Aisha. Now, the people that are interested in online MBAs for different reasons, either it's because they can't travel to Maastricht because they have a family that they can't leave them for that reason, or maybe they travel a lot. We have quite a lot of business people that just have to travel and cannot be on campus, on fixed dates, or just that they are very, very busy with their career, so they don't have that availability for class attendance. And so because of that, obviously the online MBA is a really good option to choose. For those of you that were wondering, the online MBA degree is the same as all the other degrees. So at the end of the year, when you graduate after 2 years, it also just on your degree, it will read MBA. So that's also important to know, because as I mentioned, the curriculum is the same. And finally, the executive MBA. So Evelyn, that was your experience. Now you actually had I think a very similar situation to the one I had, that you had a young child, that you had to sort of juggle family, work, and studies at the same time. So how did that work for you?
Yeah, correct. And actually, I was in doubt between would I do a full-time MBA or would I do the executive MBA, because I was in between 2 jobs. And when I initially came to visit with MSM, with yourself, actually, Hermina, it was still with this idea, what will I do? Will I do full-time? Will I do executive? And I had also visited another business school and looked at their full-time and executive program. And it was you guys who said, well, why have you considered the executive program? Because of the setup with having to attend class every 3 months, which sounded a lot more applicable to me versus the other things I had been seeing, where it was a Friday and a Saturday, or a Saturday and a Sunday every 3 weeks. So in other business schools, the total amount of time was shorter, like 1.5 years instead of 2.5 years. But it felt like that would really be very straining on my family to be missing so many weekends. And on the other hand, what I also quite liked is having 1 week but really a full week every 3 months allowed me to really immerse myself into the studies instead of trying to do it, a weekend and then work again and a weekend. So those are some of the reasons why I opted to do the executive MBA. The advantage is you have almost 3 months to work on your assignments until the next module starts, because that is the deadline for your assignment. It can be a help or a hinder depending on how good you manage your time. When I hear Aisha talking about how she manages to submit her assignments very much on time, I'm a little bit jealous. But also the advantage of that is you don't have to stop your life altogether, let's say. So you can indeed still plan a little holiday or a weekend away here or there, because you do have a little bit more flexibility as to when you can plan your assignments.
Exactly. So indeed, it does work well. And the nice thing is that it's in the end, it's 5 working days that you miss. So it's a Saturday all the way through to the next week, Saturday evening. So it's the weekends included, the 8 days. And so for a lot of people, that comes down to 20 working days per year. Which is quite easily negotiable for the companies, seeing how much you're actually giving back to them with all these relevant assignments. So a lot of our MBAs, executive MBA students, actually negotiate extra days for the MBA, and so they don't even have to take up their holidays. Now, talking about that, people that are looking for the MBA, the type of profile, also once again, as mentioned, that want to have that in-class experience, but are still working and can come to Maastricht every 3 months. And the nice thing is that obviously you have that flexibility, because if you cannot be there when that module takes place, then you can always take it when the full-time students have their class, or you could do it with online MBA students if that's necessary. It's easier for an online MBA student to do a full-time class on campus than for the other way around, obviously, because the online MBA takes a bit longer in that sense. But it is possible, and we've had students that have done the switch both ways. If you are still hesitating about that, on our website, you can actually see a quiz called the Which MBA Quiz, and it takes 4 minutes to do, and it just quickly guides you to see a bit more what is the better fit for you. The other option always is to contact Julia or myself, and we have a call with you, like Evelyn also mentioned, and we really just discuss based on your needs, based on what you are wanting and looking for, which would be the better program for you. So don't hesitate. Now, obviously, to summarize, what are the expected returns? I'd first like to highlight that when you are thinking on return on investment, and that's also why I focus so much on the skills, is that it's not all about money. When you do an MBA, it's not just about getting a higher salary afterwards, even though that's always a nice bonus, but it's a lot about being better in your job, having those skills, having a better job. And so studies have actually shown that you will get a better salary increase in many cases. And there are a lot more job promotions available thanks to an MBA, because you have then this management degree that companies recognize as being, obviously an important degree to have in those functions. But it will also give you the job opportunities, networks that Aisha, for example, already mentioned. She's already actively started creating this during her online MBA. This entrepreneurial confidence that Evelyn mentioned, that she hadn't even expected that she wanted or thought she found interesting, and then realized that you can even apply this in your jobs. And then the personal development and leadership skills, which Harinya and Mohamed both referred to during their MBA. So those are things that you will immediately see in the work, but also in career steps that can come from doing an MBA. And if you do the MSM MBA, and we've discussed this also, is the curriculum focus. You will be able to specialize in a specific topic. You've got this hands-on learnings, which is so important for companies. Your thesis, you can also, once again, make it more specific to real life problems. So this really also encourages this creative problem solving that is so important for the companies. Your individual assignments you can make it as relevant as possible to your environment, so you can really have that in-depth learning experience. The group assignments, because of the diversity of the groups, you really have this teamwork and understanding of cultural diversity. Thanks to that, you will get to know yourself much better throughout the MBA, being put in this pressure cooker, being put into team works. As Harinya mentioned, also during the leadership course, you really get to see what type of leader you are and how you can actually manage a team better thanks to this. And throughout the year, there are a lot of presentation moments, a lot of communication moments where you have to influence your group or talk to the professor or, defend your thesis. So you'll be working on that throughout the year as well. And Harinya, I think, mentioned that in the beginning, is that actually helped her also with being able to tell the story clearer to her team, so that the whole idea is very clear. And we've talked about the sensitivity to cultural awareness. So that is something that remains extremely important, as well as the actual time and stress management, which cannot be denied. It is something that is very important during the year, and that our students always struggle with in the beginning and become real experts in at the end. So that's in a nutshell. Now, for those of you that are still interested in the program, I'll just take a few moments to explain the practical information. I do see we've gone slightly over time, but if you are interested to know about the price, so the tuition fee is 32,500 euros for 2022. We've actually kept it quite the same for the last 2 years because of COVID. We understand it's difficult times, and we do have scholarships available that go up to 50% maximum. So if you are interested in our scholarships, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Julia will send the link, and she can also look, depending on your situations, which one you're eligible for. And we do have some merit-based scholarships as well, so she can make that very clear for you. For the application, the most important thing is to go onto our campus portal to create a profile, and you can then need to upload all the documents. These documents are quite standardized type of things that most business schools require. Once you've done that, there is an application fee of 95 euros. If everything is in order with your application, we will invite you for an interview. During this interview, we make sure that you are a good fit for the program, but also the program is a good fit for you. So depending on your needs and your expectations. And then once you are admitted, we'll invite you to either complete your GMAT or your GRE, or you have an alternative to complete the MSM leveling courses instead. For those of you who are interested in applying, so the full-time MBA starts in September, and so the applications for the non-European students are 15th of July, for the Europeans is 15th of September, and the online MBA will start in September. So also the application is still open. The executive MBA, we do have one starting in April. So if there are any of you interested in applying for this, the application deadline is closing next month. So we are getting closer to that step. So don't hesitate to reach out if you need help with that application form. And otherwise, the second intake will be in September. If you want to have more information, you can always contact our recruiters, Julia or Inka, or our admissions office directly. You can chat with our students online, so don't hesitate to chat to one of our ambassadors or students via the link. We have a lot of videos online, also on our social media. We regularly update posts, so don't hesitate to check that. And then we do have quite a few other webinars coming up. We have fairs. We'll be in Greece, we'll be in Mexico, we'll be in Milan, and we'll be in Amsterdam. So we're going to be in quite a lot of places in the next few weeks. So don't hesitate to check. And if you are interested and you want to have a call with us, also don't hesitate to reach out to find out more. So this is a list of some of the upcoming webinars. So there's one tomorrow about a specific scholarship called the OKP scholarship. That's for the full-time students. And then on Thursday, I've mentioned the masterclass, which is going to be about the digital transformation. And then we have the other scholarship, the webinars coming up in March and April. That was it. So my apologies for going slightly over time, but I don't know if there are any questions. Julia.
Yes, hi, Ermina. So one, I think, useful question, but you went through already, but so the main difference between the executive MBA and the full-time MBA in terms of working experience, managerial experience, and
Okay.
format.
Good question. And I did go through it very briefly, so it's we didn't have time to talk about that too much. The executive MBA, the requirement is already that you need at least 5 years of experience. Okay, and for the full-time MBA, it's and the online MBA, it's 3 years of experience. So there's a small difference. Ironically, the online MBA actually has the most experience. Even though the minimum is 3 years, we are sitting, I think, at an average of about 38 to 39 years old of people in the group. The working experience is also much higher. The executive MBA, I think the average is about 15 years of experience. Evelyn, does that ring a bell for you in your cohorts?
Yeah, definitely a lot more experience than the 5 years.
Yeah, and so in the full-time MBA, you got more of a mix, I'd say. There you'd have the people that have the 3 years, and then you'll suddenly have people that have 20 years as well. So I think the biggest difference, obviously in the level of experience, I would say with full-time MBAs, often the people that are there is because they actually want to have that change. It's, both Mohamed and Harini are perfect examples that they came to the Netherlands and are working now in the Netherlands. And so that's often the difference, is the reason why they've chosen for that specific program.
Last question. So what are the opportunities for network during the online MBA?
Okay. Well, Aisha, I don't know if you want to maybe explain how that's been working for you, because you mentioned briefly about the submitting and sharing of, opinions, but we didn't go too much into that, and that's a great, example.
I think it's a great opportunity to answer that, because one of the points I really enjoy is the level of exchanges we have with the other colleagues or classmates, how we can call it. The level of exchange is very diverse. There's different background from, scientific, biology, or, business, banking, etc. And this is quite rich. And so it enables you to get out of your own sector and industry and specialties. For me, I only know banking, and I know my networking is all around banking. But by exchanging with other friends and students that are in different industries, you're actually building a network. Not only that, when we do our assignments or papers, we have the liberty to choose what we want to do. And so it's an opportunity to reach out the companies that you are interested in, or industries that you want to know more about, and build this relationship, which is at a professional level,
Yeah.
And so there's plenty avenue here to actually develop, even online, a network. And for example, although we are online, we connect through LinkedIn, and as and when we know new people, then we just, connect. So I think with the digitalization and all this means of communication, of all communication, you don't really need to be in the campus, but of course it doesn't replace the face-to-face.
Yeah, I'm actually, I had to smile when you say friends online, because it's just been 2 courses, and even already now you're talking in that way. And I know when I was talking to other MBAs, online MBA students, they actually said to me that in some cases, the first time they met was at the specialization phase, but it was as if they'd already, they were friends, and they had WhatsApp groups going, and they had real support groups going. And so it was really interesting to see that despite being online, you can really create a good network.
If I may add as well, you know, my friends and colleagues are asking me, so Aisha, how is it to do an online MBA? And one thing that I keep on saying, and I just realized, is that I'm very much impressed of the profile of the students that are in the class. You know, it's just refreshing and stimulating to have this quality of exchanges. So, and I can see from obviously Mohamed and Arinya and Evelyn, it's very similar. You've got a great sample here of what really it is.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for pointing that out. Any other questions, Julia?
No, this was the main ones. The other one.
And I don't know, for the remaining attendees, if they have any other questions, else I'm happy to leave it at that. It's already late, and thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you specifically to Aisha, Evelyn, Harinya, and Mohamed. You guys have been amazing. You've experienced it, so you know what's happening more than you know, just someone just saying it. So thank you very much for being here today, for giving that input for the students, potential students. Thank you, Zori, for organizing it. I don't know if you've got anything else to say.
No, you're welcome. Thanks a lot for this informative and very insightful session. I hope we have helped our attendees to decide to apply for an MBA at MSM, which we have learned is provides a great flexibility and great networking opportunities, diversity, and practicality. So I'm wishing everyone good luck, and I hope to see you soon.